Hey, what's up? It's E. Smith here, former IBF junior middleweight champion of the world. Make sure you guys subscribe to the Sporting Icons. Cheers.
Now on your screen right now, you will see the Fox Sports Boxing Schedule. Of course, this is from Premier Boxing Champions, the PBC, and Al Heyman. Now this follows the Boxing Schedule announcement for the PBC on Showtime. Now, I'm sure a lot of you guys will agree with me that over like the last 12 months or so, Fox, they've been putting on the bigger, the better fights. Why? Because they're a bigger platform, more money compared to Showtime. Showtime have been getting, it looks like, the fight nights that Fox didn't really want. So when Showtime announced their boxing schedule, which was very, very strong, I was expecting something quite spectacular from Fox. And I feel a little dejected, to be honest with you, just by looking at it. But again, let's be fair, there are 2 fight dates that are yet to be announced. But I'm pretty confident I know at least what one of them is, which is December the 26th. How do I know that? Well, because when I spoke with Bob Arum on this channel 7-8 weeks ago now, I was the first person that he told publicly that they are potentially looking at Tyson Fury versus Deontay Wilder on December the 26th in Sydney, Australia. Now, if this does come to fruition, then hopefully they incorporate into the promos to build up why they're doing this on this specific date in Sydney, Australia, because it actually marks the anniversary of when Jack Johnson became the first ever black heavyweight champion of the world, which happened to be on that date in Sydney, Australia. So hopefully they incorporate all that with the promos, if of course that is going to be the fight that they announce on this date. Is it a coincidence? Maybe it is, but for now, that's my pick. As far as November 7th, I haven't got a Scooby-Doo. But I'm probably going to have to, if I had to guess, probably say Manny Pacquiao or a Broner or a Thurman. I'm probably going to go with Manny Pacquiao, but again, we'll have to wait and see. Now, as far as what is announced, not too great. Outside, of course, the pay-per-view, which is November 21st, which we knew a couple of weeks ago, this was going to be the day anyway and what the fight was going to be, but now it's official, Errol Spence Jr. versus Danny Garcia. Now, I got this screenshot that you're seeing on the screen from Boxing News 24, so maybe they put this together, I don't know, but if it's the official release from Fox Sports, then quite clearly they don't know what it is that they're doing, because they have it as for the WBA and IBF welterweight world titles. Well, Manny Pacquiao is a WBA welterweight champion. Errol Spence is a WBC and IBF. So is it a misprint? Maybe. Now, as far as the fight goes, pay-per-view, anything that's even remotely interesting, unfortunately for you guys in America, regardless of the fact that you're coming out of a pandemic and potentially entering into a recession, PBC quite clearly don't care, because with the amount of pay-per-views that these guys are announcing, it's frightening. Okay, so either way, this is going to be a pay-per-view. They want Errol Spence Jr. to be the next pay-per-view star, along with Gervonta Tank Davis and potentially the Charlos now as well. So with Errol Spence Jr., is he going to beat Danny Garcia? Well, I know a lot of people in America, you don't really rate Danny Garcia too highly. I do. I think he's a fantastic fighter, and I don't see this as necessarily a cherry pick. Now, reason being, I mean, when Errol Spence, he defeated Sean Porter, which, by the way, I think he was lucky to get that decision. In my honest opinion, I thought that Sean Porter won that fight. Worst case, it should have been a draw, but it is what it is. But Danny Garcia got into the ring afterwards and challenged Errol Spence Jr. This was before Errol Spence got that car crash. So Danny Garcia, he was pretty confident that he could beat Errol Spence Jr. anyway. But now the car crash has come along. Maybe a lot of people are going to give Danny Garcia a bit more of a roll of the dice about maybe getting the decision. Now, for me, the only way that Danny Garcia is going to get the decision, go back to my original statement, which was they want to make Errol Spence Jr. the pay-per-view star. To beat Errol Spence Jr., you're going to have to stop him. Doesn't matter how he does in that fight. If he dominates him and quite clearly wins that fight on points, it's going to be called a draw. They're not going to allow those belts away from Errol Spence Jr., in my opinion. Danny Garcia is going to have to do something pretty spectacular for that to happen. But of course, with the car crash, how good is Errol Spence Jr. now? Is his body a little bit broken up? Maybe he can't take a full training camp. Maybe he can't take punches too well, either in the body or especially the face and that, because obviously he's had some kind of microsurgery in that in his face. So a few shots with 10-ounce gloves could open up those cuts, and maybe the fight will get stopped on cuts. But Danny Garcia, for me, he can outbox Errol Spence Jr. Errol Spence Jr. is not the best boxer in the world, but he is heavy-handed. But again, Danny Garcia is also heavy-handed. We have seen Errol Spence wobbled a couple of times, but nothing to the point where you'll probably go, I think Errol Spence Jr. is chinny. I don't think Errol Spence Jr. is chinny at all. But he's going to have the acid test against Danny Garcia, who is a big puncher. Of course, Danny Garcia, he has gone the distance with a couple of opponents that you could probably say maybe he should have stopped them, but it is what it is. But I think overall, it's a pretty good fight. Now, as far as the other ones are concerned, August the 22nd, which happens to be the same day that Mackenzie's putting on a show here in the UK on Channel 5 with Shakan Pitters versus Chad Sugden. And of course, that entire card with Alex Dilimangi and whatever else. Plus, we've also got the Matchroom Sky Sports pay-per-view one as well, which is Dillian Whyte versus Alexander Povetkin. So that fight is very, very close anyway. That fight date, August 22nd, so around 2 weeks' time. Sean Porter versus Sebastian Formella. And this will be a WBC welterweight title eliminator. I don't like that fight at all. That's a very, very weak headline fight. I know Sean Porter, he's a headliner. I get that. But his opponent, no. I think that they could have come out with a better opponent for Sean Porter than this guy, in my honest opinion. I don't want to be disrespectful to him, but I think that Sean Porter should be fighting better opposition. And for a WBC title eliminator, it shouldn't be this guy, in my opinion. Anyway, a week later, August 29th, Lara, excellent fighter, kind of boring, but very, very good southpaw fighter, going up against a guy I've never heard of in Greg Vendetti. Again, this would be for a WBA super welterweight title. Now, okay, it's a world title fight, but how many people are really going to be interested in this one? I'm not too sure, to be honest with you. Again, based on, I think a lot of people are probably in the same boat as me, unless, of course, you've just recently looked at as to who this guy is. You probably wouldn't have heard of him, right? I personally have never heard of him. But who knows, maybe some hardcores out there that have. On September the 6th, Yordanis Ugas, very good fighter, against Abel Ramos for the WBA welterweight title. So this will be for the regular title, as Manny Pacquiao is the super champion. Again, this goes against everything that the WBA have been trying to say, where they want the regular and the super to be combined so they can get rid of the regular world title. Clearly, they lied. Clearly, they did, because when Manny Pacquiao and Keith Thurman fought, this was for a WBA regular super unification. And now suddenly they've put this back into circulation. Ridiculous, isn't it? Absolutely ridiculous. But who knows? But I think overall, it's a weak boxing schedule. It will make it stronger, of course, if the December 26th is the Fury versus Wilder. Again, it's not really a fight that people really want to see. We know who the better man is, which is Tyson Fury. He comprehensively bounced him up and down the canvas. Do we need to see him do it again? In some ways, it's kind of fun to see. But either way, that'll be that one. And we're still waiting, of course, for November 7th. So if that November 7th is, say, a Manny Pacquiao fight against someone that makes us go, ooh, that's a good fight, then maybe it's going to be quite a strong boxing schedule. But again, that's going to be another pay-per-view for you guys in America to have to shell out for. But anyway, we'll have to wait and see. For me, overall, pretty weak so far. Of course, you guys drop me your thoughts below. Click thumbs up, subscribe. Catch you all in the next video.